Welcome to Junior Mining Weekly, another StockPulse.com production, where we keep track of the equities markets in the commodity sector and find those companies that have the best shot to discover the hidden treasures found far below the surface of the Earth's crust. And with me is Allan Laboucan. Allan operates the Allan Reports and is the CEO of Advance Gold. And Allan, I want to welcome you here, and this is going to be an interesting and hopefully fun show to try to get investors ahead of the game. But let's establish a little credibility here. What's Allan all about? Why should people listen to what you have to say? Why don't you take a minute here and run through your body of work?
Yeah, well, I've been doing the Allan Reports since 2005. Prior to that, I got into the business in 1993. I've been fortunate enough to have some of the top geoscientists in the world in geophysics, geology, and geochemistry as my mentors. And about in 2005, I decided to do my own report because I really felt that there wasn't enough commentary out there about, the nuts and bolts of exploration. And so I started my report. That got me a lot of attention in the mining business. I was a frequent guest on BNN back in the 2007 to 2011 window when they used to cover the mining sector a lot. And that's the basics of what I've been doing over the last 20-some years in the mining business.
Yeah, and I imagine being in this business, you can't be friends with everybody.
I have my fans, I have my haters. Part of that has to do with I don't really pull any punches. I try to tell it like I see it. And sometimes in this business, people like you to be a cheerleader all the time. And I don't think that does a lot of people a lot of favors. I think you need to sort of lay out the wager, the bet. I grew up around racehorses, and what I think I try to do is lay out the bet on both sides, the pros and the cons, and try to find the best and help people to understand what they're betting on.
Yeah, and we've certainly talked off air about the correlations between Vegas and the Toronto Venture Exchange. I think Vegas, you actually have a chance.
Well, I think actually more, a good handicapper in horse racing, I think can really turn the odds in their favor and be more like the house in Vegas. And so that's what I try to do, is help people to turn the odds in their favor.
Yeah, well, let's get right to it here, and let's run through current day mining sector and gold and silver. I can't quite get that 1,500 level. How do you see current day activities here in this sector? It's obviously been a real painful experience. Is there any hope for these guys?
Well, we've had a pretty good year so far. We've seen gold go up to break through that 1350 roof that was sort of the stopping point of a lot of rallies over the last 5 or 6 since the 2011 peak. And now we've got over 1,500. We're hovering around that 1,460 to 1,500 level. I just think that there's so many things that are pointing towards higher gold prices, and where gold goes, so does silver. You've got zero interest rate or negative interest rates all over the world now. I think they're something like 17 to 20 trillion dollars in negative interest rates. Debt's going through the roof. The U.S. is now at $23 trillion in debt. What that means is they painted the world has basically painted itself. The central bankers have painted themselves into a corner that they really can't get out of. They can't let interest rates go higher simply because of the debt level. So, I think we've got these negative rates around for a long time. And in a yield-starved world, I think that gold will be king. And I'm a big gold bull right now, banging the desk whenever it gets pulls back. I think it's a buy the dips market for the foreseeable future. I don't think it's long before silver also joins in the party. And there's some other metals that I'm looking at that I think people want to as well.
Before we dig into the equity side here, anything else look attractive to you?
Some other metals that I'm bullish on, I think that long-term battery metals should be a portion of an investor's portfolio. Some of the key battery metals are nickel, copper. I think that the fundamentals of nickel and copper are very strong. I think they are for zinc as well. These metals, they all fall into the same category. There's been spending on exploration and development for gold, silver, battery metals, zinc, copper, nickel. And so I think with that setup, those are sort of the stocks that I'm looking at these days. So I think you want to be loading up on a lot of metals these days.
Yeah, and I think an important point to get to, certainly the younger investing crowd, is every time they look at that smartphone, they must realize that without these junior miners doing exactly what you're talking about, that phone does not exist.
Not only the phone, the computer, the tablets, the television, the refrigerator, the lights in the room, the cars they drive, everything in their lives are driven by commodities. And that doesn't happen without mining. And mining doesn't happen over the long term without exploration and new mine development. And there's been an under expenditures in that. And I think that these millennials and the younger folks are going to start to realize that economics have a way of teaching people a lot of lessons. And I think we're coming into that window. And I think the millennials are going to start to learn how exciting this treasure hunting business can be. And that's really what I look at myself as, a treasure hunter. And I look for those treasures in the ground through companies that I follow, and also the company that where I'm the CEO, which is Advanced Gold.
Okay, let's get right out of here and go through some of the bigger equity news here. Vizsla Resources, VZLA, on the venture, under the direction of Michael Connert, president and CEO, raised a bunch of money here. We've done some field work. What's your opinion of this one?
Yeah, this is a new company that has done a pretty interesting deal in Mexico. It's not a cheap deal. They're going to spend a lot of money and they're going to make some serious payments. But what they've been effectively able to do is grab a whole district, a district that's currently got mining operations and also wide open for exploration as well. And Mexico is a very important mining jurisdiction for gold, silver, and other metals. And they've got themselves onto some interesting stuff that, like I said, it's not a cheap deal, but it's definitely something that caught my attention with some of their recent news. And the stock has been as high as 52 cents, as low as 13 cents. It's currently trading at 47 cents. So it's close to the upper end of the range, but I think that they're going to create a new range as they get drilling and get moving forward. And that's right around the corner here that I expect to see that kind of development start to transpire for the company.
And the next one here is Kintavar Exploration, call sign KTR. Kirill Mugerman is the president and CEO. There's 5,000 meters of drilling here. Nice copper project in Quebec.
Yeah, Kintavar is a company that I became aware of probably about a year ago. And they're one of those companies that, you got to watch out for some of these companies, because they'll sample a project to death. And that's what they had been doing. But, you got to sort of determine, is it because they're afraid to drill, or is it because they're doing good science? And I think that they've done some really good science. They've done a lot of work on sampling outcrops, doing channel sampling, and it's a big target. It's a big copper target. And now is the transition of when I start to get more excited about a company like Kintavar's, because they just announced that they're doing a 5,000 meters of drilling. So now the rubber's going to meet the road. The stock has traded as high as 29 cents and as low as 11 cents. It's currently trading at 14 and a half cents. So it's right at the low end of their 52-week trading range as they're cranking up the drilling. I'm going to be watching this one very closely, because if the drilling is anything like the surface channel sampling that they've done, things could be very big for this company. So, there again, it's a copper play that I think you want to keep an eye on. It's in Quebec, which is in one of the best jurisdictions of the world for exploration, mine development, and mining. So I like to recommend people add that to their radar screen.
Next up here, Galway Metals, GWM on the venture. That's CEO Robert Hinchcliffe. And some nice drill results and some serious people involved. Why don't you break this one down?
Galway's a very interesting company for me. They've got a strong team involved with that company, and why I say strong is these guys have had a buyout in their past, and then I started following it more recently, and in the last year or so. I think I picked them once about 8 or 9 months ago, because I liked what I saw on two of their projects. One is their Jubilee project, where they're looking at a more of a big tonnage, lower grade type target. But even in the lower grade, they're looking at 1 to 2 grams, up to 3 grams over 43 meters, that sort of stuff, 12 to 43 meters, and that's what you want to look for. I'd like to see that envelope get a little bit thicker, but if it has good strike length and width from sort of side to side, that could get very interesting. But really what caught my attention was their Clarence Stream project, their Richard Zone, where they have recently reported 20 grams over 9.5 meters, 14, then in the same hole, 14 grams over 7.5 meters. This is sort of consistent to what they've got over the last little while that I've been following them over the last year at their Richard Stream project. So they've got a good team. They've got fairly tight stock structure and a really good project, and it's in Quebec, again, one of my favorite jurisdictions to look for projects. So another one people want to add to their shopping list. And before we close later, Rob, let's talk a little bit about seasonality and why you want to be having a strong shopping list these days, and how your shows and have been prepping and people to have a good shopping list. So yeah, Galway's definitely one I think you want to put on your shopping list.
Right, another good spot to be here in Nevada. Nevada Exploration NGE on the venture. That's under direction of Wade Hodges, CEO, as they're advancing 4 Carlin-type gold targets at South Grass Valley. I know you're interested in this one too. Why don't you run through it?
Yeah, Nevada Exploration is doing some really interesting stuff with their projects in Nevada. All the mines in Nevada are basically in the outcropping rock, and the other half of the state is under cover of sand and gravel, where it kind of masks the rocks that are basically the same rocks that you're seeing in the mountains and the outcrops. But they're just hard to find anything there because of the cover. And what these guys have been doing for the last few years, and I've been following them, is they're using groundwater sampling to try to vector in on where in that covered ground there should be discoveries. And now they're really rolling up their sleeves with the drilling. They've sort of vectored in. Now they're getting ready to roll up their sleeves and start poking some deeper holes into the ground to see if they can find some of those deposits that are spectacular up in the outcrops, but not easy to find in the covered areas. And if they can prove this theory now, there's some pros are what I've talked about. The cons are, well, how is the groundwater moving gold, silver, and other indicators from far away, and how successful are they going to be at vectoring in? But if they are, I mean, half the state is covered, and the other half are full of mines. And if they can prove up that theory, things could get really exciting for the company. And so, again, another one I think you want on your shopping list, and look for cheap opportunities to buy it. I just going to pull up the 52-week range. It's 44 cents on the high, 13 cents on the low, currently trading at around 30 cents. So right around the middle of the 52-week range, which is, where you want to be looking at buying some of these. You don't want to buy them on the highs. You can't always catch them on the lows, but if you can catch them in the middle somewhere, that's often I gave you the wrong 52-week range there. Nevada Exploration is 49 on the high to 15 on the low. The current price is 21 or 23, so closer to the low than the high, which is always a good spot to be looking at them, Rob.
And last one on the ticket this week, Dios Exploration. That's DOS in the venture, under direction of CEO Marie-Josée Girard, as they announced a new target here in their Quebec projects. I know you're interested in this one. Pretty fond of Marie here. Why don't you run through it?
Yeah, Marie-Josée is a very sharp explorationist, and I've known for several years, mainly because of her efforts in diamond exploration. I find that I follow a lot of diamond exploration people, including myself. A lot of my career has been in diamond exploration because that's some of the hardest stuff to find. Your diamonds are small, your rock is there's a lot of it, and trying to find that needle in a haystack takes a lot of talent. And Marie-Josée is a talented lady. And but what has got my attention lately with their company Dios Exploration is that they're narrowing in on a gold project in Quebec, where they've done a fair bit of surface sampling, and there's gold all over the place there. They've also done a modest amount of drilling, and they're finding some gold in there. But what's really got my attention is that recently they've been doing sort of looking at the faults and structural story there, and right at the intersection of a couple of major faults, they have some of their highest grade sampling, and now they're going to be drilling into that area as well. If they hit, things could get really dramatic for this underloved and underappreciated company that has a 52-week trading range of 8 cents to 4 cents. Not a lot of movement. It's a really sleepy stock, Rob. But like I said, it's in. They're now narrowing in on where they should be able to drill into some high grade numbers. And with the faults in the area, it could have opened up the ground really nicely to create finding the vent of where this all came from. And with the widespread distribution of gold in the surface sampling and in the drilling, I think that there's a big gold system there, and they might be getting close to solving that puzzle. So DOS is one that I think people should be adding to their shopping list as well.
Well, quite a shopping list we've put together here, Al, so we'll certainly keep track of that. Before we get out of here for the week, let's talk about, I wanted to give investors an investment tip. If you give them some good direction here, if they want to do their own investing, give them a tip. And I think you kind of did, talking about seasonality.
Yes, the seasonality. There's a couple times in this year that I think are exceptional buying opportunities. One of them is during the summertime when people are away on vacation. When you get into the last few weeks of August, oftentimes what you'll see is after August is over, September, October, things get a lot better. And we're in one of those important seasonality times right now, which is your tax loss selling period. I think that usually it's over by about mid-December. And so, those buying in the latter part of November into latter part of December often see a very good bounce in the stocks in January, February, and then into March when you go into the PDAC. So, now is the time when you want to be building your shopping lists and taking advantage of these bargains, and also being mindful of where they are. If they're drilling, they have the chance of giving you a nice Christmas surprise. So now, between now and December, you want to be watching those that are drilling for some good movement. The latter part of December is when you want to be taking advantage of those tax loss opportunities. And I think that this is a trend that holds up year after year after year. And you really want to be taking advantage of it by building up your shopping list. And again, I want to plug the shows that you've been doing on StockPulse to get people ahead of the curve with what's going on in the sector with news and the companies you've been doing interviews with, and my involvement in that. I think that between those shows and these weekly sort of wrap-up shows are going to be a really good source of investors to find good companies for their shopping list, whether it's this seasonality time of the year or any time of the year, Rob.
Yeah, I think it needs to be said too, Al, that not one of these companies has paid to be on this, and they never will. This is based on information, how we see it. And, you're at your own risk here, folks. But I think, Al, you've done a good job of giving them a Christmas list. Let's do it again next week. We'll keep our eye on the news. I'll certainly chase the CEOs that have the news and see if we can get their comments on the commodity brief. But, Al, appreciate it. And one more time, why don't you talk a little more about the Allan Berry reports and how people can follow you?
Yeah, it's pretty easy. Go to allanberryreports.com and you can find all my commentary on there. I'm adding a new tab to the. I'm going to start making it easier for people to find all the past commentary on the companies that I picked. They'll be sorted by company, and then they can look in those and find all the past picks and the times that I've talked about them. And then just I make it pretty easy for people to find my commentary on the Allan Berry reports. And my other passion is to be poking holes in the ground and looking for stuff, Rob. And that I do through I think it makes me kind of unique that not only am I a commentator on the business, but I'm also running my own company where I try to, take the skills that I talk about and also that I've used over the years with Advanced Gold is my company where I'm CEO. We've recently gone through an exciting period to do up some good geophysics work, and we're getting close to putting the drill holes in to test the big geophysical anomaly we've identified that's right by where we've done some past drilling that's identified a network of veins with gold and silver in them. And now we've got a big 1,000 by 500 meter geophysical anomaly sitting right underneath that. And we're going to be drilling it pretty soon here, hopefully within the next 2 weeks. So, that's where you can find me at advancedgold.ca or Allan Berry Reports or StockPulse. I always like to remind people that my reports and the work I do is for information purposes. You really want to do your own homework and try to understand these companies and before you make any investment decisions.